Welcome to the BPRC podcast, Black People's Republic of China, giving you my opinion of living abroad. It ain't hard. I am your host, better known as G, here to discuss my experience of being black, expressing positivity and love.
Top of the morning, burning no sativa, and it gotta be popping. No location on my phone, they can stop where I'm going. Can't get caught up with these
Always gotta start off the show.
OGs kept me level.
Good vibe.
Cause this life is a bitch that be broken emotion.
Let that ride a little bit.
Taking a notice, you think that I'm joking. Till you wake up uncrazy. Your face so swollen. 16 I was combing. Best against all odds.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, G, government name Gary. And today's show, we're going to be talking about the value of being black in China, if you have value. But before we get into the show directly, I think it's important to give praise to God, the man upstairs, the man that makes it happen, because I'm very appreciative. So let's do that. Hey. Thank you. I love this voice you gave me. I need you. I need you. Thank you, God, for giving me this great voice and the ability to spread love, spread your name. Need you. I need you. Without further ado, gotta give God some praise, man. Nothing can be done without him involved. So, like I said, today we're gonna be talking about the value that one may have in China. Are you being accepted? Have they finished with us? So let me start off by saying, have you been accepted? What I mean when I say are you accepted is in China, how is black skin viewed? And what are the pros and the cons of being black in China? Are you accepted in only in certain fields? And my view of that, my experience of that is that the black skin is viewed like lesser than. Okay. If you have dark skin, you are definitely viewed as the bottom of the barrel. Okay. And that's just not for black people. That's for dark skin. That's Chinese people who have dark skin, right? They're considered lesser, which means it's harder to get jobs. It's kind of crazy, but black skin is not viewed as beautiful. Now, what really is crazy is that for men, black skin is considered bottom of the barrel, but black women are considered the most beautiful creatures of all to Chinese people, or in China, I would say. And the pros and the cons, based off my experience, the pro of being black and having black skin in China is that, man, there are times when you really, really feel like a celebrity. Like you could be a nobody and they're going to make you feel like you are somebody special, taking pictures of you and touching you and giggling and being all embarrassed around you. Turning it into a spectacle where everybody's looking and watching at you, but on the flip side of that, the con is it's still racism. So you could be sitting on the train and they're not going to sit next to you, or things like that. Where they're going to hold their purse, little things like that we're all used to on this side, on the American side, but you wouldn't expect that. Well, I guess you would. It's all over the world, right? Those cons of being black. Also, the con of being black is that you're not well respected, right? You're only respected in certain fields. So they see black people as being athletes, fitness people, and entertainers, right? And that's all we are. That's all we are to them. You will find it very hard as a black person in China to find regular work outside of that industry. Even education. We're not wanted in their schools. They will do everything they can to find a white teacher before they find a black teacher, right? Now that's not to say there are not any black teachers or educators. It's just to say that's just how they view us as secondary, right? So I say that to just give you a point of view of how it really is in terms of jobs, even jobs. Like you're just not well received in terms of your opinion. Your opinion really doesn't matter unless it's in the sports field or the entertainment field, in which case they always want to come to you and say, hey, do some dance or some hip hop something. You know what I mean? It kind of feels crazy. So I would definitely say be prepared, when you go, if you go to live there or live abroad, be prepared to make yourself visible. And something else that's interesting to me is that in China, man, it's known as they are known as, I wouldn't say liars, but they definitely are manipulators. Okay, and it's a nation of thieves. When I say thieves, I don't mean like pickpocket. Well, they do pickpocket, but not like pickpockets. I mean like they steal education. They steal your knowledge. That's what they steal, and they don't even let you, like, they steal it, and then when they steal it, they're done with you. Like it's over. Like there's no more. They don't need you anymore. You got to remember, Chinese is a use and abuse nation, and when they're finished with you, they dispose of you. It happens in the workplace. It happens in the country. It's actually part of what's happening right now with the whole Guangzhou African racism right now. See, what people don't realize is that because of the coronavirus, the sports industry has shut down. And like I said earlier, if they only see black people as athletes and entertainers, and there's no social gatherings, there's no concerts, there's no basketball going on, there's no football, baseball, no sports, then they don't need us anymore. And what people don't realize in the rest of the world is that if you are African or African American in China, it's a small number of teachers, yes, but the majority of the Africans are basketball and sport coaches or students. Those are the two things that they're there for, right? So they're getting rid of them because they just don't need them anymore. And that's not just the Africans. That's all blacks. They just don't see a need for us anymore unless you're a high level educator, in which case, trust and believe, they have tried to find a white version of you before they got to you. you know and it's crazy how the continuation of this racism thing is just being hella blown out of proportion. Now, I wouldn't even say being blown out of proportion. I misspoke there. It's real, but the real facts are not coming out in totality. Like I was watching, I saw a video today where an Asian lady, a Chinese lady, smashed the window out of one of the Africans' home, right? Telling him to get out, right? So you would think that that was racism, but what she was saying was, she was screaming out in Cantonese, "You haven't paid rent. He's not paying rent. He's not paying rent," right? Now, one thing you got to know about China, man, in the culture is they take things to the extreme, the highest extreme. When they get mad, they get over the top mad, right? Instead of her knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, look, you got to remove yourself," or bring in the cops, "You got to remove yourself," she's going to go smash out the windows and make it a big, big, big thing, because that's part of their culture as well. If you listen to when they speak, then they speak in high volume because one has to feel like I'm getting the better of the conversation, right? So that's just how they talk to each other, in loud tones, and it sounds like they're arguing when actually they're not arguing at all whatsoever, and I just feel like that's really what's going on. It's hard because the news is covering the incidents, and it's partial real, and it's partial not. But being that I live there, man, I can really say it goes a whole lot deeper than just the color of their skin. China feels like they are on top of the world right now, and they feel like they can just, not even now, but that's just the way Chinese people are. They just dispose of you if they don't need you, if you don't bring value, they just dispose of you. And that's not us, the foreigners. That's for their own people. Their own people have to fight to get a spot, right? There's 1.4 billion people in the nation, right? So their own people are fighting each other to try to get a spot, to survive, really, to get jobs, So, that's what I have to say. That's what I have to say about that. And let's bring in one of my guys and see if he can add some value to this conversation because he lived in China as well and let's see what he thinks. Let's call Raphael. Let's see what Raphael thinks. Let's see if Raphael picks up so we can continue the conversation. But with that being said,
Hello.
Rafi.
Hello. Hey.
My man, what's happening with you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good. If you could just talk up just a little bit so you can
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the BPRC, the Black People's Republic of China podcast. You know who I am. Thank you, brother, for answering my call, really.
Oh, no, always, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, man. So we go back. We lived in China. Right now you are in Malaysia, dealing with the quarantine like the rest of the world, you know. We are talking about the value of being Black in China. So if you could just kind of give your opinion on what that feels like, if there's value in being Black in China. I was speaking about how, you know, when it's the way the Chinese culture is they're a use and abuse nation. So when they're done with you, they're done with you. And are you accepted? What kind of fields are you accepted in? How they view Black skin. So if you could just give your opinion on that, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, ask that question one more time. I want to make sure I hit the
Oh yeah. Nah, just give your opinion on whether or not what is the value of being Black in China, and you can talk about pros and the cons, Black skin, how it's viewed, what industries, you know, things like that. The stuff we normally talk about.
Yeah. No, I think there's tremendous value in being Black in China. I've been there since September, and I think that we expand everybody's worldview when we step into a space, but in particular in China because there's so few of us and throughout the country. So, you know, there's a concentration of, you know, Black folks in Shanghai, but that's a very international city. So as I've been able to travel a little bit, you know, in China, I think it's been eye-opening for me to really know when I step on the street, I am, you know, an American, but also my African-American identity is something that I'm very salient, you know, and aware of when I'm on the street because I don't see a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
But then also just that notion of representation, it's in a whole new, you know, context when you're in a country that some people may not have ever seen anybody that is Black before, literally. And so, you know, it's been a very unique but good experience for me.
Yeah.
You know, a good experience for me. I haven't had any issues or anything like that, but it's definitely been eye-opening to, you know, be completely out of my context, but to know that everybody is looking at me because I don't look like them.
Right. So just to give me like, what do you feel, because you're a high level educator in China, and I was talking about how most dark skinned people in China either are educators, athletes, or students. But I was saying how the educator position is probably devalued the most in terms of, or valued the most, but the least amount of Blacks are in that field. So can you talk about how your experience in being a high level Black educator where they don't really want a lot of black educators?
Yeah, so I think that for me it's been again an education for a lot of people that only have had the opportunity to see Black people in some stereotypical ways, and in some ways they just make assumptions about, you know, the capabilities or the opportunities that we have, you know. So as an educator, I think for me it's been an education for me to again be to work in a context where, you know, I have exposure to a lot of, you know, PRC policy, rules, laws, and regulations, but to also know that there's kind of this dual identity that I have to operate in as well, being, you know, Black in that space. So for me, it's been positive. I'll say for Black people into different spaces is, especially post-pandemic, is going to be what kind of industries are available.
Right.
For us to go into.
Now you was mentioning before about being able to, like adjusting, basically.
Yeah. So, as we get on the backside of this, whenever that happens, and the borders open up again, it will be a different flow, if you will, than what we had before when you and I were there, right? And there were Black folks in China for a lot of different reasons, whether they work for a big company or they taught or they worked at, English dialogue, kind of institutes and different things like this, ran sports clinics. We'll have to look and see if those things have dried up. And if we want to be in China, what is out there where we can add value?
Right.
And I think that's where, people will have to put a lot of, their efforts to make sure that if they want to be in that space, they kind of catch the wave of what's going to happen next.
I totally 100% agree with you. Great point. Now, I do want to ask you this though. Now you're physically in Asia right now. So what's your opinion on the whole, like, they say the racism thing going on, in Asia? You're not in China, but what's your opinion on your feel on that, being on that side of the waters during this, pandemic?
So currently we're in Southeast Asia and there's a lot more melanin this way. So,
melanin is black for y'all listeners that don't know.
Yeah. Right. People look more like us. And so, although I haven't experienced anything that's alarming for me or my family, okay. I think that just knowing that they're in Southeast Asia are used to seeing just brown people. And I say it, and what really brought me to that was, thinking about how I'm from Washington State, and there's a huge Asian population, Asians from all over the world go there, but it's because of the military influence. And so I started thinking, how did that happen? But, in the 50s and 60s, when the military was coming out here, to Southeast Asia, brothers would be here, and then they would, fall in love and find somebody and have their family, and then they'd leave. So I think that Southeast Asia has been used to seeing Black faces for a long time, and I think as you move further north, because it's much more homogenous, that's not the case. So, the level of racism, I think that some would experience, has to do, again, with lack of exposure, and then, a lot of media that could, have propaganda that perpetuates that. And then when we walk around, in real time with folks, they don't have a clear picture of, who we are. It's just what they think we are.
Right, and that's a great point, because I think it's important for the listeners to know that when you're in China, you got to understand that Chinese people in China do not have a familiarity with Blacks. Like, they just don't see a lot of us, and especially don't interact with us. So they don't know how to communicate with us. They don't know how to communicate with anyone, but they don't know how to communicate with us, and they definitely don't know about, like, manners and, like, just how to be cordial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just different.
It's just different.
It's just different. Like when you and I remember us, we were walking around. I think it might have been after church. I think it was Dushu Lake, maybe. And we were going to grab something to eat. The guy was taking a picture, and we just were like, "Don't sneak the picture. Just, hey man, we gonna take a picture. We don't know. We know you're taking a picture. Let's take a picture." Right. Just say
take the picture.
For some Black folks, it annoys them. For me, it doesn't, because I can't be, I can't be too irritated at somebody that has never ever possibly seen anybody that looked like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like if somebody's taking pictures of us in the States, we on some surveillance type stuff. Like, what you doing?
Right. So to end
somebody,
go ahead.
Yeah, when somebody does that in China, the intent is different, and so then my approach is different.
Yeah, and so that's basically to say that we do have value in China.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
because and I'll make this last point. It is our responsibility to enlighten them and show them a positive side of who we are versus what they only hear on media platforms, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And
go ahead, finish you.
Real quick to your point, and I think not so much do we add value only to the lived experience of our Chinese brothers and sisters, but also for Black people that living in China and doing things. I think we add value to each other's experiences because we're literally doing a lot of different things there. The assumption is that people are probably just doing sports related things or educationally related things, but there's people that are in all kind of industries, and so I think it expands our mind as well to go, no, I can be Black and really be doing stuff all over the world because there's a group of people doing it.
Right. So brother Ralph, I love to get you on the show talking that knowledge and everything, but here on the BPRC, we definitely got to have fun as well and challenge your intellect. So I like to play a couple games with you if that's okay. All right. So the first game, well, I got to do my intros. You love music. You know what that is.
Yeah.
All right, so
Absolutely.
So Blackout is a game that I like to play here on the BPRC, where I name an industry, and you have to give me as many names, Black people names in that industry that work in that field in 30 seconds.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, off the top of your head. And I haven't given you the topic yet, so you don't know what the topic is. All right, so the topic right now, I'm gonna give you something that you can relate to. Producers.
Oh, yeah.
Off the top of your head, okay? The record, I believe, is still 9. Okay.
Okay.
All right, 30 seconds. Producers, off top, Black producers. Ready? Any, and it can go any genre, any field. All right, ready? Go.
Quincy Jones, DJ Quick, DJ Battlecat, Premier, RZA, Teddy Riley, Pharrell, Organized Noise, that's the production team from Outkast. Let's see here. Manny Fresh.
I give you the T-Pain. I give it to you.
Oh, yeah, T-Pain produced. Yeah, he produced.
No, well, you said it right when I cut off the 30 seconds, so I'm gonna give it to you. You definitely kept your Black card, right? So that's that's your prize. You get to keep your Black card. And you have broken the record, so I got to get a bell or something in here so I can give you some kind of celebration. But you hit 10. You got 10. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you're the man. So just know, you are still Black on the BPRC. Okay. Okay. All right. So one more game. The next one is called and I gotta give you a little bit of intro. Alphabet Soup.
Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary.
Static Selector.
All right, Alphabet Soup. So here on Alphabet Soup, it's the same concept, but I'm just going to give you a letter, and you have to name as many words as you can beginning with that letter.
Okay.
All right, so you're an educator, so I can't give you no easy letter. I got to give you Y.
Why? Okay.
Y. 30 seconds. Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Yield, yet, yesterday, Yahoo, oh, good Lord.
Got that?
Why is a good one? Sport, why?
Yellow.
You told, no.
Yonder.
Ooh, yonder.
And yeah, you was rolling. You was rolling for a second.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I had to give it to you because you're an educator.
My time's up too. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to get that one too, man. So yeah, so you didn't get, you're not the champion of Alphabet Soup, but I definitely appreciate you playing and taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers before you go? Or listeners, I should say?
Being black is beautiful. Being black in China is beautiful. China is
beautiful.
Going through a lot right now, like everybody in the rest of the world, but it's a great place to be. I can't wait to get back, and I think that if anybody has the opportunity, they should go experience it. And nowhere, every place has its own kind of quirks and issues, but again, they have benefits too. So I would say China is probably one of the better moves I made in my life. It's been great for me and my family thus far, and I look forward to being a part of the fabric and tapestry of the culture.
Absolutely, me too, brother. Always good to talk to you, man. Stay blessed, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That was Brother Raphael, and we got to pick this back up. You know how we do. It's time for the pickup music, right? Because we don't just talk here. This is a track. We on instrumentals today.
She wanna burn with me. She wanna burn with me.
Let the vibe feel. Pick it up a little bit.
I'm waking up in the morning, I'm chasing her now. This bitch, she wants me to come and sit down. Smoking that loud, she wants to come and sit down.
That'll make you want a two-step, right? I like that little track right there. All right, let's get back into it. Keeping on the topic of do you have value? Do you hold value as a black person in China? And Brother Ralph and myself, we think you do. But the next portion of that, or the next segment of that, would be comfort versus uncomfortable, right? What it feels like to be loved and hated at the same time, treated like a king and yet treated like a worker. Symbolized as one thing, athletes and entertainers to know that the conversation that they're having with you are limited. So let me dive a little bit deeper into that. When I say the feeling of being loved and being hated at the same time, what I mean is that, like, I don't really feel like China has hate for us. Like, I have some magnificent friends and just overall magnificent people that I just don't know. I feel like they have love for me, they're very sincere people, really, they are. But at the same time, they will turn on you, or they can, I guess. But then again, I guess everyone can do that, but it's weird. It's like a weird thing where, they're curious about who you are, but at the same time, very embarrassed to be around you. So it's one of those things is where you can get a nice Chinese person who will speak with you and dialogue with you, whether or not you speak English or if they speak Chinese. I mean, if you speak Chinese or if they speak English. But depending on how traditional they are and if they've never left China, they cannot really have a conversation with you in public because it's considered it's not saving face when other Chinese look at them and see them speaking to a dark-skinned person, right? And it's not about being black, it's about speaking to a dark-skinned person. What's crazy is in their culture, they truly care about what somebody else thinks. They care about what others around them think. So they could want to talk to you really, really bad. But if you're in front of a lot of Chinese people, they will not talk to you because fear of what other Chinese are going to think about them and what other Chinese are going to say about them. I will really say this. They really have an issue with worrying. They really worry about what people think and say. Most Chinese are gossipers and they like to talk about each other's business. They're not real personal. They like to put your business in the street. So most Chinese just don't want to be bothered. So they will stay away from you. And when I say treated like king and treated like workers, well, you could be treated like a king because you can literally walk wherever you want and I've had circumstances where stores just give me stuff or people just let me do whatever I want, take things or treat me like a guy. But at the same time, I also have felt it when you don't have any respect, you know, and you know you will be cut in line. You know, they will cut you in line as if you're not there. You could be waiting online for 5 minutes, but they will cut in front of you as if you don't exist, even if they just came in the store. You know, so just little things like that. And if you are being helped by a customer, little things like if you're in the store. So something they do in China is like when you go shopping or if you go in the store, immediately, as soon as you walk in the door, they don't just greet you and leave you alone. They greet you and follow you around. That's one of the main things. That's one thing I had to get used to was like, why are you following me around? But it's not because you're black and they think you're gonna steal. That's their sales technique, just to follow you and ignore you and annoy you until you buy something, pretty much, right? And when I say symbolized as athletes and entertainers, for the majority of the group, that is how they see us, you know. And those are the only two things that they see. You like, for example, you know, I'm an older man, and you know, while I'm in shape, I am by no means have the look of an athlete. Okay, I'm in shape for my age, but I don't look like an athlete. And in China, I can walk around and the first thing somebody will say to me is, "What do you do?" And before I can even say what I do, "Oh, you're a basketball player?" Now, mind you, I'm not over 6 feet tall and I'm not chiseled, so I don't look like a basketball player. But they can't wrap their mind around the fact that I'd be in China doing something other than athletics, right? And then as far as entertaining goes, if you work in a corporation, let's just say you work in like I don't know, any type of office, I guarantee you, if there's an event and they need a host or they need some type of musical segment or something like that, they're coming to you. For sure. You are going to be asked to do that, as if you should know how to do that because you're black. Not all black people know how to dance and sing and coddle. You know what I mean? Like, some of us just don't have entertaining gifts. You know, that's a real thing. So, and then my last point was to know that a conversation is being had with you, but it's limited. So I say that, like, you can have a conversation with your boss, your Asian boss, or Chinese boss, I should say. And your boss is talking to you about something specific. But if you go in another direction and talk about something else that he did not suspect you to have knowledge of, he's going to have this look on his face like, oh, this guy is pretty smart. Like, how did he know that? Or they might even ask you. That's one thing about Chinese people. I will say this. They are very direct and they don't have any filters on their mouth and they just say things straight up. So that's a weird feeling to know that you are seen as one thing and when you come outside of your intellectual box, it's a surprise. You know, but that is very real. And at the same time, if they don't feel like you should know what you're talking about, they will disregard you, you know, as if you was just talking, you know. So let's see if I can find the next segment, which is fresh new finds. I think we are going to Little G, unadorned. Now, you know what? We're not gonna go to Unadorned right now. We're gonna go to it. We're staying on instrumentals today. I'm gonna go to New York. Here's an instrumental for you to get you vibing.
Here she go again. The streets keep calling. Hello. The streets keep calling. The streets keep calling me and calling me and calling. Why you choose us? The streets keep calling. The streets keep calling. The streets keep calling me and calling me and calling.
Okay, that's a little track to get us all back on here. And there's a song to that. So I'm gonna play the song on another episode. It feels good. It feels good. But now we're gonna go to Listed, the segment of the show called Listed. And this is interesting because this Listed is 11 interesting facts about China, right? So I figured it's cool little facts that you may or you may not know. The first one, you may not know, there's only one time zone in China. Third largest country in the world, and there's only one time zone. Second thing is, when you give birth, women have to sit for a month after giving birth. After delivering her baby, a woman has to sit in the bed for 30 days, suffering a restrictive confinement, which is, according to traditional Chinese medicine, supposed to be good for her recovery. So basically, she sits in the bed and drinks soup and gets catered to for 30 days. And when you give birth in China, you have to have a birth license to give birth. The third thing is soccer. Soccer originated in China. We don't even relate soccer to China. And that's crazy because they love basketball, but their main sport is soccer. It originated in China. I didn't even know that. Number 4, significant others rental is real. So I'm not sure if you know or if you have heard. So there's a lot of pressure on men and women to be married by a certain age. So when they go home for like Chinese New Year or Dragon Festival or one of these or Boat Festival, one of these holidays, they go home and their parents, if they're not married, their parents like grill them. They want to know why they're not married. So what some of them do is they can rent significant others. This shows what kind of mentality they have. You can rent a significant other to bring home for however long, a day, a week, or whatever. Like I'm sure to me that's called call service, but I guess they call it rentals now, right? Number 5, pajamas are the in wear. In China, it is very, very common to see people walking around in these pajamas. They're like thick pajamas, like they're warm as hell, but it's common. Pajamas and slippers, that you can see that any time of the day in China. Number 6, there are not too many movie ratings, not any movie ratings. So there's no rated R, PG-13 or anything like that. So you can take your kid to see any kind of movie. Now, with that being said, China is restricted on a lot of violent movies and things like that. They don't have too much of that stuff. So pretty much they don't need movie ratings. There's no sex being shown on screen or anything like that. So number 7, and this one was interesting, toilet paper, gunpowder, printing, and the compass was invented in China. So that goes to show you. Gunpowder is an interesting one to me because the U.S. and China trade relations go way, 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 way back. And I guarantee you gunpowder has something to do with it. We're the leading nation of guns. And so, where do we get our gunpowder from back then? Number 8, the bicycle. In 1891, 2 Americans introduced the bicycle to China. So in China, there's a lot of bicycles. Everybody rides a bike. It was introduced by Americans in 1891. Number 9, because the food has to be cooked in small pieces for so many people, that's how they started using chopsticks, because you couldn't pick up the small pieces with silverware. So the chopsticks was easier to eat. Okay. Number 10, sacred animals: dragon, panda, phoenix, duck, tiger, tortoise. That's very interesting. So let me give you just a little background. The dragon is seen as being an evil creature in the Western culture. In China, it is the opposite. It is ranked the first among the 4 creatures mentioned in ancient Chinese mythology. Giant pandas have existed in China for 2 or 3 million years. They are kept by the earliest Chinese emperors to help ward off evil spirits. The phoenix was an important legendary bird to symbolize feminine power, particularly that of the empress. So if you know, in China, it's like opposite. Women hold the power in China in terms of everything outside of corporate structures. I mean, well, I guess women hold the power everywhere, so that's not different. Number 11, when you're born. So when you're born, you know how here in the States, when you're born, you're like, oh, my son is 1 day old, 10 months old. So in China, the day you are born, you are 1. You turn 1 year old on the day you're born. So that's pretty interesting when I found that out. The name, always the father's family name. So you always take the father's name. Number 12, 1 out of every 5 people in the world are Chinese. So that tells you where we are in terms of the most amount of people and why Mandarin is spoke. The largest amount of people in the world speak Mandarin. But that's 11 interesting facts about China. I thought that was pretty good today. So, we take you on roller coasters here. We go up and we go down. It's getting to that point at the end of the show. But before we go, I must take you out with some feel-good vibes. Always enter in positivity and always leave in positivity. So I thank you and appreciate you. Till the next one. With Instrumental Beats. God bless. Positivity and love is all we want. Stay safe, stay healthy.
But you had a long day, don't worry about it, cause it's
over. Unless you feel this one a little bit.
It's time to party, roll it fast and
I am your host, Gary.
Move your body that way,
better known as G.
You got me going now.
You are listening to the BPRC, the Black People's Republic of China.
It's time to unwind, baby. You got me going crazy. There's something about you, lady.